Toilet training your pup getting you down? Starting to feel that a goldfish would have been a better option? I've got some pro tips to help you stop thinking about aquariums. Before we get started with any pro tips, first and foremost, we need to make sure that there's no underlying physical cause that might be the problem when it comes to toilet training our pup. Take your pup to the vet, get them checked out if you've got any concerns, and once they've given them a clean bill of health, then we know this is a straightforward training issue and there's nothing else throwing a spanner in the works. Our first pro tip is management, and this boils down to making sure that when your puppy needs to go to the toilet, he's on the surface that you would like him to go to the toilet on. This is called substrate preference, and we want to develop a substrate preference in the pup that's amenable to what we would like. The second part of management is making sure that the setup is appropriate to your pup to make sure that they develop good toilet habits. So what you're going to do is always make sure that your pup has got access to the substrate that you would like them to toilet on. You've got a couple of options there. Option number one is offering them an indoor/outdoor setup. So they've always got access to the outdoors so they can go and toilet outside. If you don't have the luxury of that, then what you can do is mimic that kind of concept but on a smaller scale. So you could set up a playpen indoors, and inside that playpen you could have an area for sleeping, an area for eating, an area for playing or just enjoying a chewy, and then a separate area within that playpen for toileting. How you could really bring this home to the pup that this is a separate area for toileting is you could use a litter tray for small breed pups or for large breed pups. Some people have used those geyser overflow trays which work quite nicely, and you're going to fill that with the substrate that you have chosen for the pup to toilet on. So the pup's always got access to that substrate for their toileting. At night, we're going to take advantage of another natural instinct that our pups have, and that is not to toilet in their den. We could use a crate, and we're going to make that crate just the right size for the pup so that he perceives it as purely a sleeping area. It's not a toilet area for the puppy. You would set your alarm, you would wake up accordingly, and pups generally can go for an hour per month of age. So a 3-month-old puppy, you're looking at about 3 hours that they can hold their bladder and their bowel. Set your alarm, wake up, take the pup to the chosen substrate, let them do their toilet, take them back and go back to sleep. This is not playtime, it's all business. The last thing you want is your pup thinking that you're some kind of magical party animal that wakes up every 3 hours and has a little party with them. This is not going to be conducive to getting a good night's rest. Our next pro tip is observation. You want to make sure that you know what your pup's signals are that they need to go to the toilet. For most puppies, it's pretty straightforward. It's circling or sniffing, and I like to call that snurkling. And they also sit and they get this like sort of far away look in their eyes as they start dreaming of pea pasture. That is your opportunity to take your pup to the chosen substrate. Remember, every single time they toilet on that chosen substrate, we're banking that. So make sure that you observe your puppy carefully. As soon as they give you signals that potty time is coming up, do something. If they do not have access to that substrate, you're going to have an accident. The following pro tip is one that pretty much all professionals in canine training and behavior agree on this, and it's praise. My take's a little bit different though in terms of the type of praise that we give to our pup for toileting. Pretty much any resource that you read about praising your pup for toileting will say jump up and down, act like they've just solved world hunger, and then give them a reward. I would see things quite differently depending on your puppy. The first aspect of this is we have to consider this exuberant praise through the puppy's eyes. Is this a puppy who likes that kind of praise? If you're dealing with a sensitive dog of a breed that is perhaps more sensitive, or maybe you just have a sensitive individual, that kind of praise is actually going to freak them out and going to make them less likely to toilet in the right place, because in their mind, everything was going along swimmingly. They went to the toilet on this spot and you turned into a bit of a weirdo, and that's going to put the pup off toileting in that spot. So make the praise appropriate to your pup. In most cases, just a nice, calm, good puppy, good toilet, good pip, good poop, whatever you want to say will suffice. Look, if you've got a Labrador, you could do flick flacks and the dog would love it. That goes without saying. Make the praise appropriate to what the puppy perceives as praise. Okay, we tend to make this mistake when it comes to dogs, is we do things that, and we do it from our perspective. You have to do it from your dog's perspective. I'm going to share a little story later on when it comes to looking at things from a dog's perspective, and this one's got a really good reference to toilet training. The second aspect of praise that I'm a little bit different to most of the other trainers and behaviorists out there is rewarding the pup after they've gone to the toilet. I don't do that with my puppies. The reason being was that the act of going to the toilet is the reward. Think about it. Imagine yourself sitting in a vehicle, you're on a road trip and you really need to go to the loo, and you are sitting there. I'm going to use a South African word now. The word is knyp, which means to pinch. You are sitting there and you are kniping. How much further before I get to go to the toilet? When you finally get to go to the toilet, it's amazing, right? It's absolutely incredible. That's what your pup feels when they go to the bathroom, when they finally get to relieve themselves. I don't think it's necessary to add a treat to this. In fact, what we're doing here is we're putting the natural reinforcer of being able to toilet up against a contrived reinforcer of the treat. And I think all that happens there is we actually start devaluing that treat. So I don't think it's necessary to give your pup a treat after they've been to the toilet. Cleaning. Every time your pup has an accident, they are laying down scent molecules. And even though you might have cleaned up beautifully, those molecules are telling the pup, apparently your pup has turned into a pop, are telling the pup that that is an okay place to go to the toilet. We don't want that, okay? That's starting to interfere with our substrate preference. We want your pup's GPS to be perfectly accurate. So what you're going to do there is you're going to use enzymatic cleaner, which is going to break down the molecules, those scent molecules, so it's not going to leave any trace. It's not going to confuse your puppy's pee map and make them think that pee pasture is now indoors. So enzymatic cleaner, there's loads of good brands that are readily available. Patience, your pup will get this. If they have an accident, don't punish them. Go into another room, scream into a pillow. Come back without your pup seeing you, tidy everything up, clean everything up, and re-examine, hang on, how did things go wrong? What fell through here? Was it a management problem? Was it an observation problem? And then adjust your program accordingly. Don't beat yourself up. Accidents happen, okay? Our pups are not perfect, neither are we. And until we are perfect, we can't expect them to be perfect. So just have patience with your pup. I promise they will get this toilet training thing. The reason I say don't punish your pup, there's a bunch of reasons. The main reason is the pup doesn't really have much control over this toileting. When they needed to go, they just went. That was about it. There's nothing malicious or spiteful in it. We also don't want your pup to associate you and any kind of toilet product with something bad that happened to them. This creates a really bad setup where, say for example, your pup's been indoors with you, you take them outside to toilet, but yesterday there was an accident in the house and you raised your voice at the pup or you admonished them. Your pup is now outside in the garden with you on the chosen substrate and they need to go to the toilet, but they're looking at you and they're going, not going to happen, buddy. The last time you and I were together and there was a pee or a poop involved, you became a little bit of a raging psychopath. And the pup will no doubt then run into the house to become a little bit of a pee bandit to avoid you to pee or poop in safety. You can see how that's going to create an issue, that we do not want that pup to think that it's bad to toilet in front of you, because that's really going to shoot you in the foot when it comes to making sure that those toilet training habits are established across different contexts. Some breeds are a little bit trickier to toilet train than other breeds. Toy breeds, unfortunately, can be problematic for two main reasons. Reason number one, there's substrate preference. So substrate preference can start as early as, some people even say 4 weeks. Some people say it starts at around 9 weeks. The jury's out on that. Needless to say, during that period of their lives, most toy breeds, because they're such tiny little things, spend the majority of their time on soft surfaces. Often what happens is their substrate preference then becomes for soft surfaces. So in the puppy's mind, it's perfectly feasible to toilet on carpets, on rugs, even on bedding. You can train that out of them, but it might take a little bit longer because they've already established a lot of instances of toileting on those soft surfaces. But this is just helpful to understand why it might take a little bit longer with them. Toy breeds can also be a little bit trickier to toilet train just by virtue of the fact of their size. That natural instinct I referred to when I spoke about a pup has an innate motivation to not toilet within its den. If you think about it, being a toy breed, they're so little, their den is also appropriately small. So for them, a room is big enough for them to leave their den to go and toilet. Whereas for a giant breed pup, say for example like a Great Dane, for them to leave their den might involve them leaving a particular room. The den size that's appropriate to the size of the dog can add a little bit of a hurdle when it comes to toilet training. Not insurmountable, but it's good to know this if you're feeling like you're not going anywhere with your toy breed, with your toilet training. These are some of the difficulties you can have with toy breeds, but they can get over them. Earlier on, I spoke about looking at things from the dog's perspective, and it reminded me of an amazing experience that I had with one of my clients. She had a little Chihuahua type dog. I called it a Chihuahua Wee, and she was having problems toilet training the dog, which not unheard of with a toy breed, but she was great. She'd done everything to the letter, but still was experiencing problems. And I'd counseled the lady and we just weren't getting anywhere. So I actually thought, no, let me go to her house and check this out for myself. And I got there and yeah, she'd set up everything beautifully. The environmental management was absolutely perfect. I could see she was observing her puppy. Everything she should be doing perfectly, she was. So I asked her to show the normal routine to me, and she fed the puppy, and we took the pup outside, opened the door, didn't open the door was already open, onto the patio, and there was the lovely lawn where she was hoping the pup this would be the pup's toilet, and the pup just kind of stood on the patio, and they didn't look scared or anything, and I couldn't quite figure out what was going on here. Hang on a sec, let's always look at this from the dog's perspective. So I got down onto the ground, which is pretty much where the pup's eye line was, and I looked at the world from that perspective, and immediately I saw what the problem was. Sitting on the wall was one of the biggest cats I have ever seen in my life, and it was just kind of staring at the puppy, giving this poor puppy death daggers. You couldn't see this cat from a normal standing viewpoint because it was shielded by overhanging trees. So this poor pup was coming out onto the patio. He wanted to go to the bathroom, he wanted to go onto the lawn to toilet, but in his mind there was this giant jaguar sitting on the wall, and he wasn't sure if his life was safe. So you can see why the pup then chose, you know what, I'm just going to go inside and pee in the lounge where it's much safer. There's no jaguars in the lounge. Problem solved immediately. The neighbor, the lady, my client, spoke to her neighbor, and they sorted out the issue with the cat. And what we did to solve the problem immediately was we opened a door on the other side of the house where the pup had no experience of the cat being there. Problem solved. But you see the importance of looking at the problem from the dog's perspective. So often we think that there's this great mystery why our dog is doing something, and as soon as we look at it from their perspective, it all makes perfect sense. Earlier on, I mentioned giving your puppy a chewy, which gives rise to a whole bunch of other questions. What chewies are safe for my dog? How long should I give my dog a chewy? I'm going to put a link to a video that we've done on this topic that I'm pretty sure will answer all of your questions on that. That is pro tips for toilet training your puppy. Management, observation, praise, cleaning, and patience. I'm pretty sure if you follow all of those principles, you're going to be having great success in no time. Best of luck with that, and we'll see you soon.